The federal government just rewrote the rules on the single biggest tax break in Australian property. If you own investment property, this is going to cost you somewhere between $30,000 and $80,000 on your next sale. The question is whether you're in the 30,000 group or the 80,000 group, and most investors don't know yet. You've probably already seen the headlines, you've read 50 LinkedIn posts, had at least one panic text from a friend with property, and your accountant now has a 6-week wait list. You don't need another person telling you what changed, you need someone telling you what to do about it. And that's what the next 10 minutes are for. I'm going to walk you through 3 specific moves to make in the next 90 days. Not the next 12 months, the first 90 days, because that's when the strategic decisions get made. The rest is execution. I'll show you what each move actually looks like, what most investors will get wrong, and how to think about it for your specific situation based on the answers you just gave in the survey. Now, this isn't tax advice. I'm a buyer's agent, not an accountant. What I'll show you is the property side of the decision, which is the side that determines whether you actually keep building wealth through this change or you get caught flat-footed. So let's go, let's jump into it. Before we get to the moves, 2 minutes on what actually changed, because how it's been reported in the news is mostly designed to make you click, right? Not to help you make decisions. 3 things you need to understand from this. 1, the CGT discount you've been used to is being replaced with inflation indexation from July 2027. So instead of paying tax on half your capital gain, you'll pay tax on most of it, adjusted only for inflation. For property held in high growth markets, that's a materially bigger tax bill on a sale. Secondly,
negative gearing. Losses on established residential properties will only be deductible against residential property income or capital gains from the 1st of July 2027. And this applies to established properties acquired after 7:30 p.m. on the 12th of May 2026. Properties acquired before that time, including exchanged but not settled contracts, are exempt until disposal. That means the next property you buy now has to be assessed differently. New builds keep the full tax advantage. Established property loses a major one, but that does not mean every new build is suddenly a good investment. And it does not mean established property stops working. It means the decision has become more strategic.
3, there's a grace period. So 12 months from when the legislation takes effect. That window is your strategic runway. The investors who use it well will be fine. The investors who don't use it will be paying a tax difference for the next 20 years on every sale. That's what has changed. And now here is what to do about it. So move 1 is the move most investors will skip, which is exactly why it's first. You need to know in actual numbers what your capital gains tax exposure looks like under the new rules versus the old rules. For each investment property you own, 3 numbers. What did you pay? What's it worth today? And what's your likely sale timeline? From those 3 numbers and your marginal tax rate, you can then model the tax delta between selling inside the grace period and selling after. And here's a real example. An active investor owns 2 investment properties, both bought around 2020, for example, for $600,000 each, both worth around $850,000 today. They plan to sell one in the next 5 years to fund retirement. Under the current 50% discount, tax on $125,000 of gain. At the top marginal rate, that's about $59,000 in tax. Under the new indexation, tax on something closer to $200,000 a gain. At the top marginal rate, about $94,000 in tax. Same property, same sale, $35,000 difference from when you sell. That's the audit. Run it on every property you own. Most investors haven't and won't, which is why this is the first move and why the people who do it have a real advantage. Move 2 is about the next property you buy, not the ones you already own. So the question on the table is new build or established? And the honest answer is it depends on what you're trying to achieve. New builds keep the negative gearing benefit after July 2027, and that's a real cash flow advantage if you're buying for tax minimization. But new builds also have specific risks. They've got higher purchase premiums, depreciation curves, construction risk in some developers, and cookie cutter homes and apartments in oversupplied markets are still cookie cutter homes and apartments in oversupplied markets, regardless of what the tax treatment looks like. So established property loses the negative gearing benefit on new purchases after July 2027, but established property in supply-constrained, owner-occupied dominated markets continues to be where genuine capital growth happens. And if investor demand shifts towards new builds, established property might actually become more competitively priced for patient buyers with strong cash flow. Both paths work, neither is automatically better. What matters is matching the path path to your situation and your time horizon. And here's what I'd actually want to know before recommending a path. What's your cash flow position? What's your existing portfolio composition? What's your hold time horizon? What are you trying to achieve in the next 10 years? Those 4 questions determine the path, not the headline tax treatment. And this is exactly what we work through on a portfolio review call. Move 3 is the one that connects moves 1 and 2 together. If you've got a 10-year plan for your property portfolio, take it out, look at it honestly, and run the numbers with the new tax treatment baked in. Most investors discover one of 3 things. Outcome 1, the plan still works, you're in a structure or a position where the changes don't materially affect your trajectory. Great, carry on, business as usual. Outcome 2, the plan still works, but the timing changes. Maybe you were planning to sell a property in 2029, but the grace period analysis says 2027 is significantly better. Or you were planning to buy your next one in 2028, but the negative gearing rules push you to act sooner. The plan is intact, but the calendar shifts. And outcome 3, the plan needs to change. The structure you set up doesn't fit the new environment. The asset mix is wrong, the hold horizon assumptions don't work anymore. This is the most uncomfortable outcome to land on, and it's also the one where the cost of not acting is the highest. Most investors will find they're in outcome 2, some in outcome 1, and a meaningful minority in outcome 3. The point of running the stress test is that you find out which one you're in before the policy is in effect and not after. Those are the 3 moves: audit your exposure, decide your next purchase pathway, stress test your 10-year plan. You can do all 3 on your own. The data is available, the maths is straightforward, and the questions are answerable. It just takes time, attention, and the willingness to be honest about what the numbers really say. Or you can have a 30-minute portfolio review call with me. We'll work through all 3 of these together for your specific situation. On the call, we'll look at your existing portfolio, your structure, your buying or selling intentions, and your 10-year plan. I'll tell you honestly which of the 3 outcomes you're in and what your specific next moves should be. Then, if it makes sense for the both of us, we can talk about working together. If it doesn't, you'll at least leave with the clarity that you came for. So before you book, a quick honest note on who this is and who this isn't for. This isn't for you if you're hoping someone will tell you the budget doesn't really change anything, because as we've established, it does. This isn't for you if you're looking for tax advice. I'm a buyer's agent. You need an accountant for the tax side, and I strongly suggest having that conversation in parallel. This isn't for you if you're not actually in a position to make decisions in the next, say, 6 months. The grace period is real, but it's also finite. This is for you if you own investment property, you've taken the budget changes seriously, and you want to know what they mean for what you actually do next on the property side. If that's you, the booking link is below this video. My calendar is genuinely limited because I take every portfolio review call personally. The earlier in the grace period you book, the more options we have. The later you leave it, the more decisions get made for you by that tax man. So book the call, let's work out where you actually stand.